quick shout out to the partners on the stream. As you guys know, I'm working with Prime. Right now, Prime is running a deposit bonus special. So if you use the promo code Mayne50, so you make an account using the link, make sure you type in the promo code before you deposit any money. And then when you do deposit the money, you get up to $7,000 in deposit bonuses. It's based on how much you end up depositing. So a little bit of free extra money to trade with. Thank you so much to the Prime team. I appreciate all of y'all for helping me out by supporting me and keeping these videos coming for you by just doing something as simple as making an account. So let's get into it here. So Bitcoin weekly order block. Took that previous weekly low. I got long down here. My original target was 40 to 41,000, but I ended up closing early. So I initially closed out here. Once I saw this rejection, we had this H4 order block here. So I got long down here. Once we deviated, reclaimed that weekly low, I was fully into a bunch of longs and long bias. And then we had this H4 order block that was rejecting price. And then when we had this last wick, I was like, okay, you know, we cleared out a bunch of highs. We've had a nice rally. I was hoping we were going to get a pullback down here. So I ended up getting short on the retest of this area. I did not short this move, but we had the run of these lows. And then when we came back up here, I was like, okay, I'll short here. And maybe we get a run a little bit deeper, put in a higher low, and then continue up. The plan was always 40 to 41K. So I closed out a bunch of my longs here and I actually took a short here. I thought we were gonna dip deeper, essentially. I got stopped out and then we had another pop to the upside. I did paper hands some of my longs for sure. I'm still holding spot, so it's not like I missed this entire move up, but the margin longs that I had built here and here, I closed most of them out here. So I missed out on the last bit of the move. So that fucking happens, right? And I'm not afraid to admit that, you know, look, I caught a 15% of a 25% move. That's the majority of the move. I'm happy with that all day. Obviously, catching the entire move is better than not, but I locked in profits. I made money, so I'm happy. Obviously, you know, I'd love to flex that I caught this and fucking closed out here, but I didn't. I'm not gonna fucking lie to you like most people on Twitter will. I didn't get bearish here, but I thought we were gonna pull back, so I locked in a bunch of profits thinking I would have a chance to reload lower, and I didn't get it. And that's trading, guys. That fucking happens. Sometimes you are wrong, and that's okay, right? I still made money. I caught the majority of the move, so I'm happy with that. Obviously, we broke through this area. This ended up being the higher low. Again, I was hoping to see these lows get run. This was it. Right? We talked about this in my video on Friday. That SFP was it. And now we've rallied up into weekly resistance here. So if we zoom out again to the weekly, right? We've basically, this is what I mean by the weekly to weekly move. You could have just bought the weekly order block here and closed at the weekly bearish order block here. So bullish order block to bearish order block, it's a 20% move. Just level to level, literally one trade. The high time frame obviously is goated, and I did have this plan, but I didn't execute it properly. I should have, you know, I was looking at a 4-hour resistance when really the real resistance was at the weekly level here. So we have popped a bit higher than the weekly level. People are already breaking out the stablecoin memes, right? Everyone, Bitcoin's a stablecoin now because it went sideways for 2 fucking days. This just shows me how new to the market some people are. Bitcoin was a stablecoin back fucking here. People don't remember this shit, man. When Bitcoin was here, this was when Bitcoin was a stablecoin. We're in like a 10% range here for months. Right? This is like 3 months where Bitcoin was basically between like $6,000 and $7,000 for like ages. That's when the stablecoin meme was funny. Right now, we're into that weekly order block. We had this little range. Is this a bull flag? I don't know, right? Could this be a bull flag? I don't know. But we have popped out of the top of it, and now we're retesting it. So the real question here, I think, for the Bitcoin bulls is, can you hold this 41,861 level, which is the bottom of that weekly order block, basically the top of this consolidation? Because if we're able to hold here, I think you target this next level. So if we're able to hold this retest, which it's doing right now, it's putting in the retest as we speak. If we're able to hold this retest, this would be my target. Maybe we get above this level, but I do think this is a high time frame weekly level here. I do think that this will give us some sort of pullback, whether the pullback starts from right here or a little higher. I think this is an interesting area from like an intraday perspective. So if we're able to hold this retest, I do think you target 43,100, maybe a little higher. Maybe we run this high, but 43,100 for sure. Squeeze some late shorters, right? Some late longers. as well, right? Get people to long late and then send it back down. But ultimately, I'm not really interested in trading in longs into weekly resistance here. This is that weekly bearish order block that caused this entire move down. So I'm not interested in opening up fresh longs here unless it is like a low time frame trade where you're like, okay, this is our retest. Here's my risk. Here's my target, and it's just a little trade, or maybe your stop is even closer. Sure, I can get behind that logic, but in terms of like a high time frame long opportunity, it's not here. I think you wait for it to either clear resistance, right? And then we're targeting like 46K up above all these highs, or you wait for a pullback and you long lower. Personally, I would love a pullback down to here, right? So like give us this being your deviation, back into this range, break down, give us the BART meme, right? And then this would be a beautiful retest to get long. I think 39 to like 40 would be a great retest area of retesting this H4 order block. This becomes support. I would love to long something like this. I don't know if we get this though. We might not be that lucky. It might not come that deep. This might be it. It might just break out from here. I don't know. I'm waiting to see. I don't really have a bias to the long side other than maybe a short-term long, right? Being like, okay, here's a breakout. And then here's the move to here. That's the only like current long I see without either going higher or pulling back further. I'm more interested in those two opportunities. Myself, I actually started up a short here, and I'm willing to add on that short up to this top level, right? And if we start consolidating above this level, I'll get out, or maybe I'll cut it above this high or something like that. So I've started shorting here, and I'm willing to short a little higher into this weekly order block with a target of down here. That's kind of my positioning right now. You're gonna have to see it. You know, the new week just started. The weekly close, in my opinion, is bullish. This is a bullish weekly candle that we've just had. We are into resistance, but this is looks like a nice swing low that we've got that's formed here. Now we're into resistance. The question is, do we pull back and continue up? I don't know yet. So we did break that downtrend line that everyone had been watching. So we broke that downtrend line. So that's a good sign, but market structure is higher, right? Like the bearish market structure is still intact. This is a lower low. So until we make a higher high, like above here, some sort of rally into the 50s, I think is a premature call. It doesn't mean we can't do it, but like this is your swing high here. To me, I mean, you could argue this is it, but we're still below that. That generated the lower low. So this pullback could just be a lower high before lower. So it's still too early to tell if market structure is shifting, but we have broken this downtrend line. I do think we're gonna see, if we trade a little higher, we'll see another pop. I like this area around 46K. If we do pop higher and a target of these highs as another area where price might reject from. For now, I'm just kind of being patient. I'm waiting. I still got some spot on from lower here. We are into weekly resistance, so I got to wait before I make a decision in terms of, okay, are we going way higher, way lower? I don't know yet. So this is the most bullish price action we've had in 3 months. So you have bulls rejoicing on the timeline, people screaming for new all-time highs, people just generally being stupid. I wanted to say a different word there, but again, we're up 25% from the lows. This is awesome, right? But we're down 50% from all-time high when we put in this low. So there's a lot of work to be done before, you know, you can be like, we're for sure going back to all-time high again. But this is the most bullish price action we've had in a while. There's reasons to be stoked, especially if you caught longs down here. I think it's great, but like bulls acting like bears are fucked. It's like, dude, bears have been penetrating bulls for 3 months, and this is the first sign of relief in a while, and it is expected. Just like nothing can go up in a straight line without a pullback, nothing goes straight down in a straight line, right, without a pullback. Pullbacks are part of the game, right? Price does not move like this and like this, right? It goes like this and it goes like this. So I am bullish though for this week. I'm looking for longs. Again, if we get a pullback, I think there's a lot of confluence in that kind of 39 to 40K area. Obviously, some key SR here at those two levels. So any sort of retest of this area where we get a hold, I think is a long if we get it. I don't know though. I don't know if we'll come that low. So still too early for me to tell, but the weekly into resistance, very nice move up from weekly level to weekly level. Now we wait and see, and we wait for our next setup. Again, could we pop up from right here? Absolutely. But if we fall back below this 41,861 level, like if we get an H4 close, notice how we broke through, we came back, we retested it, now we're rallying. If we get an H4 close below this level, I think it's likely that we trade down to here. And this is an area I'd look to long. If we're gonna hold this level and we're gonna trade higher, a above 43, showing some bullish market structure, I might be interested in longing. But I've actually started to scale in a short here, just a tiny bit, not big size yet. And we're going to wait and see. It's early in the week. It's a brand new week. We've got CMI this week. Stock market still looks kind of shaky. Still a lot to kind of be determined, but obviously it's nice to see the bulls win. As much as I might talk about price going down and short opportunities and things like that, I'm always a bull at heart. I much rather long crypto than be short crypto. Bull markets are way more fun. Being a bull is just generally better. Being a bear sucks, right? Bears deserve to be exterminated. Not real life bears, but crypto bears. I firmly believe everyone makes more money when things go up, and I'm all for that. I want everyone to win, right? I want everyone to win. And I think a lot of people have a really hard time surviving in the downtrend. So I'm always down for Bitcoin to go up. I want it to go way higher. I want us to make a new all-time high this year, but I just play level to level, right? What I want is not necessarily how I trade. But yeah, so we'll see what happens here. Again, this is the area that I'm watching for resistance, this weekly order block. So let's see what price does here. It's still early in the week, but 41,861, this is the Bitfinex chart. So if you want to replicate this on whatever chart you're trading, go to the weekly and draw out the open and close of that weekly order block, and you'll get those two levels that I'm watching. And let's wait and see. We're in there right now. Let's see how the start of the week goes. Is the high of the week already in, or is the low of the week going to get put in early, and then we're going to continue up? But my bias for now is kind of neutral. If we pull back here, I'm longing. If we consolidate above 43,100 and put in bullish market structure, I'm getting long again, targeting 46,000. Most bearish situation is we reject from here, and then we come down here, and then we lose this. If we lose this, I think we're going back into this low. So that's like the most bearish situation that I see. I personally don't see that happening. I'm more interested in being a bull here if we come back this low. But if we lose this 4-hour order block here and this kind of 39 to 40K SR area, if we get back below there, I think we go much lower. Like I think you short this, target here. Okay, so that's Bitcoin done. Gonna take a look at Ethereum now. Take a look at Ethereum. Okay, so Ethereum, same shit, different chart, right? We drew out the weekly levels that we were interested in, right? So we had this weekly SR, and then we had the weekly bullish order block, exact same as on Bitcoin, right? We came down into the level, put in a low, a lower low, a higher low. So my bias on Ethereum was to the upside for the last 2 weeks. I had posted longs on Ethereum in the low 23 to 2400 because we came into that weekly order block, and then we put in low time frame bullish market structure, which gave me a very clear long setup right here. There's our first level, ran it into another key level, reclaimed it. That is your long, that's your risk. Target was right there. Where did I close? Here. So I missed this entire last pop, but that's fine. I caught a very nice trade here. Very similar to Bitcoin, right? We had a weekly level here, just shy of another weekly level here. There's your weekly bearish order block. We're in it right now. So this is weekly supply. This is an area where I would look for price to reject. Now this is a huge box. This is a 15% box, right? So you don't just short here. You could technically short here or start shorting here and put your stop there. But that's not really how I like to trade. What I rather do is say, okay, we're into weekly resistance here. I now want to see signs of rejection and then make a decision. It's no different than here. When we came into that weekly bullish order block, you could have just longed your first touch, or you zoom in and you wait for bullish price action to form, right? This is an area I want to be looking for longs. Show me bullish price action on the low time frame. This is what I'm talking about. Low, lower low, higher low. Break in market structure, higher low. Break in market structure, higher low. Break in market structure, potential higher low. Now if we're up here and we're looking for rejection, well maybe I want to see something like this. The complete inverse of this. This would be what would get me to short in this area. So rather than just shorting here and putting a stop up here and being potentially in drawdown for a while, just based on the weekly, if you just trade the weekly, that's totally fine. But I'm much more interested in finding some sort of low time frame setup because now my risk is here, my entry is here, and I'm not sitting in drawdown for potentially days before it turns around. The other thing that you have to keep in mind, and this reminds me of a stream I did a few weeks ago where there's some guy telling me like, oh, your stop is 15% away, like that's a bad stop. And it's like, okay, well that guy just doesn't understand risk management. Here's the thing, if you're just trading this purely off the weekly, I would say, let's say I was taking this trade purely off the weekly and my expectation was that we eventually trade down to here because I'm bearish, let's say. but I'm taking the trade off the weekly, not off the lower time frames. I would enter this trade probably by putting my first set of orders at the base of the weekly order block, and then I'd put my next set of orders around the EQ. This is close enough to the EQ, I'm just eyeballing it. So let's assume that we push a little bit higher. So my order, let's say I put half my order at 29.30 and the other half of my order at 31.50. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna whip out my calculator. So I'm gonna take 29.30, I'm gonna plus 31.50, I'm gonna divide it by 2. My average entry would be about 30.40. Let's assume that I got filled half my order here and we pushed higher and I got the other half of my order here. Okay, we're speaking in a hypothetical, obviously. My average entry would be 30.40. My stop would be up here. My target would be here. It's a 3.5 hour trade. Some people might say that, oh, well, your stop is 12% away from your entry. That's fucking awful. But what they don't understand about risk management is like, yeah, my stop is 12% away, but my target is also 43% away. So I'm still getting a 3.5 risk to reward, and the position size is going to be drastically different. If my stop is 1% away from my entry, my position size is going to be way bigger than if my stop is 12% away from my entry. Because that's how you calculate position size. You need to know the distance from your entry to your stop, right? And that's why you need to understand risk management before you start leverage trading. My position size on a trade like this will be much smaller than my position size on a trade with a much tighter stop. But my -1R, let's say I get stopped out on this, my -1R, it's the same amount of money because the position size is calculated to ensure that I'm only risking 1, 2, whatever percent of your portfolio you risk on a given trade. So some people will always give me shit being like, well, that box is so huge. I'm like, you're dumb. Like, I don't know how many times I have to explain it. The position size is determined based on where your entry is and how far away your stop is, right? Because if your stop is 10% away from your entry, you cannot open a 10 Bitcoin long or short like as if it was 1% away. You'll lose way more money. So you adjust your position size accordingly. But that is technically how you could take this trade on the weekly if you were bearish for lower. I don't like trading this way. I'm saying, okay, we're into weekly resistance. I do think that this is an area where price could reject, but I'm much more interested in having a lower time frame trigger. The problem with that weekly trade is I could be in drawdown for a while. I don't really trade off the weekly. I use weekly for analysis and for bias, for targets and things like that. But in terms of my entries, I'm usually entering on the daily and the H4, sometimes the hourly, sometimes the 12-hour. I'm not usually entering based on the weekly. So I'm much more interested in waiting for something to happen on the low time frame that confirms that this is resistance. And now I'm getting in here with a much tighter stop and potential for a greater risk reward because I can still use that weekly target, but my entry was dialed in on the lower time frame. Hopefully that makes sense. Into resistance here. Let's wait and see what happens. We had a reason to be bullish at the lows because we were into weekly support. Now we're into weekly resistance. Let's see if it gives us a reason to be bearish. I'm not blindly shorting. I'm waiting to see if price gives me a reason to be bearish, and then I will make a decision. But we could trade as high as 31.50, no problem. Even higher, deeper into this area. If we're able to clear this resistance, the next target is much higher. So let's wait and see. But right now, again, just like on Bitcoin, the best trade, literally weekly level to level, 35% move, just from weekly level to weekly support to weekly resistance. But into resistance now, let's see what happens. I'm not interested in just blindly shorting. I want to see price show some signs of rejection. Ethereum BTC, we fucking nailed. So we had talked about this high getting run. We had talked about, this is from a couple streams ago, this huge range that we were in for ages. We finally got back above the mid-range. We got to the high. We ran that high, and then basically I wanted to see this hold. And I wanted to see Ethereum make a higher high after this low, right? So broke out of the range, higher low. Once this failed and we got a bearish retest here, this now became a deviation to me because it became clear that this was not a breakout of the range, rather just a run of the top side. And once we had this retest, I said, we're going back to at least the mid-range. Fake out the top of the range, first target, back to the mid-range. And that's exactly what happened. We came right back into the mid-range. Boom, we're seeing a bounce now. If we get back below the mid-range now, target the lower part of the range. But this is pretty clear. High, low, lower high, lower low, lower high, lower low, lower high, lower low. Potential lower high? I don't know yet. So mid-range, target achieved. Now let's see what happens here going forward. If we come back below the mid-range, so we're probably going to trade back into here. And if we come back below here, we go to here. If we're able to find this as support, then we can target back to the upside of the range. Right now, with the way BTC dominance is looking, I wouldn't be surprised if this sells off a little bit more, but we'll wait and see. There's your deviation example right there. I wanted to see it break out. It came back into the range and it failed to make a higher high. Now I'm short biased back into the mid-range. There was a perfect retest and a sell-off. Some people do suck. The fact that you use the word waffling tells me that you're British. Go eat some beans and fuck off. Sploosh says I'm bald. It's like, okay, dude, you're poor. What about it? I don't think BitBoy would ever fight me. He's short and fat. I'm tall and jacked. It's not a fair fight. It's about time you go fuck yourself. How's that sound? You're banned from the channel. See ya. You still exist, but not in my world anymore. I got that guy on the internet this time who's posting free shit on YouTube. I fucking made fun of his haircut. But no one's gonna hear you. Your existence is insignificant to me. You're gone forever. I love technology. I don't know. I don't really like to speak in absolutes. Only a Sith speaks in absolutes. Everyone clear on the plan for BitBoy, or for BitBoy? Short BitBoy max leverage. You're gonna get stopped out on that, man. He's too big to short. You know how like the economy was too big to fail? BitBoy is too big to short. I'm almost as poor as him after that stop out, but not quite. He's very poor. I'd have to get stopped out probably 2 or 3 more times to be in his income bracket. Make sure I mute the mic so you guys don't hear me piss, because y'all know I piss wicked loud. You know what I like to do. This is what that guy was saying. I forget that guy's name. It's crazy how quickly people just disappear out of my existence. It's crazy. It's like I'm Thanos, or Thanos, whatever the fuck you want to say. And I just snapped, dusted. They're gone. Not even Tony Stark is saving them. Major Marvel spoiler there. If you're not up to date on the movie from like 4 years ago. Yo, you just ruined Avengers. So confirmation is relative. Much like time? Time is relative? Gravity is relative? I forget. Either way, I'm not a scientist. That's gonna get clipped. I'm gonna look stupid. I'd venture to say that that's not true. Don't lie to yourself and don't lie to me. I have no fucking idea. Make a peace sign if you're being held hostage. Wait, you got a hairline. I've always had a fucking hairline, guys. Jesus Christ. That question doesn't even make fucking sense. If you're just looking to copy my trades, you can fuck off. Get your own, bro. Why is everyone so interested in my fucking hair? Go outside and get some fresh air. Stop staring at this thing all the fucking time. Am I bald by choice? Yeah, I shaved my head by choice. This is hair? This is all hair on my head here? I don't know anyone else who's doing it like me. I really don't.